Welcome to Hot Drama TV.
Before fame learned his name, before the screen ever lingered on his face, Liu Yuning was already telling stories, quietly, patiently, through characters that didn't beg to be noticed but refused to be forgotten. His journey through film is not marked by noise or spectacle, but by accumulation. One look held a second longer than expected, one line delivered softer than written, one character who stayed with you long after the scene ended. This is the story of an actor who rose not by rushing forward, but by standing still when it mattered most, letting silence, restraint, and emotional truth carve his place on screen. Tonight we don't count roles or chase rankings. We follow the path of Liu Yuning through his films, and the moments that turned presence into power. Liu Yuning did not arrive on screen as a ready-made leading man. He arrived slowly, quietly, almost cautiously, building his presence role by role, scene by scene, until one day audiences realized that his name no longer belonged to the background. It belonged to the story itself. His journey through film and television is not the story of overnight stardom, but of accumulation, where every role carried weight, and every performance left something behind. His early appearances were not designed to dazzle, yet they revealed something rare, a natural gravitas that made even supporting characters linger in the audience's memory. In the long ballot, Liu Yuning's role stood out not because of screen time, but because of emotional density. He brought restraint, inner conflict, and a sense of quiet loyalty that contrasted sharply with louder performances around him. That role became a turning point, not a breakthrough in fame, but a recognition of potential. Viewers began to notice that when Liu Yuning appeared, the emotional temperature of a scene subtly shifted. Then came roles that demanded more complexity, more contradiction. In costume dramas where heroes are often written as flawless icons, Liu Yuning chose characters shaped by hesitation, scars, and unspoken pain. His performances carried a masculine calm that felt grounded rather than performative. He did not rely on exaggerated expressions or dramatic monologues. Instead, he let silence speak. This quality became increasingly evident in Heroes, where his character existed at the crossroads of honor and survival. The way he handled moral tension, never overstated, never rushed, gave the role a realism rarely seen in wuxia narratives. As his filmography expanded, so did his range. Liu Yuning proved that he could move effortlessly between historical epics and modern dramas without losing his identity. In The Prisoner of Beauty, he demonstrated an advanced understanding of romantic tension, portraying a man torn between duty and desire, power and vulnerability. The chemistry he created on screen did not rely on obvious gestures. It lived in glances, pauses, and moments left deliberately unfinished. This subtlety became his signature. The true milestone, however, arrived with A Journey to Love. Here Liu Yuning stepped fully into the role of a leading man, not as an idealized hero, but as a fully realized human being. His character carried leadership without arrogance, strength without cruelty, and tenderness without weakness. The performance felt mature, controlled, and deeply internalized, signaling a clear evolution in his acting craft. It was no longer about proving he could act. It was about showing how deeply he understood character psychology. What makes Liu Yuning's achievements through film so compelling is consistency. Each project adds a new layer, yet none contradicts the last. His characters may differ in era, status, or temperament, but they are united by emotional truth. Directors trust him with roles that require patience. Writers give him characters who grow quietly rather than explosively. Audiences, in turn, trust him to deliver sincerity. Today, Liu Yuning stands as an actor whose film achievements reflect endurance rather than spectacle. His success is written not in viral moments, but in cumulative impact, roles that stay with viewers long after the final episode fades. In an industry often obsessed with immediacy, Liu Yuning's film journey reminds us that some stars are not meant to flash across the sky. They rise slowly, steadily, until one day you realize they have been shining all along. And that quiet shine continues to deepen with every new role Liu Yuning chooses. What sets Liu Yuning apart in his later film and drama achievements is not scale, but control. In projects that followed, he no longer needed dramatic plot twists to command attention. His presence alone carried authority. In ensemble casts where competition for visibility is fierce, Liu Yuning never rushed to dominate a scene. Instead, he anchored it. His characters often became the emotional axis, the one others reacted to, relied on, or were transformed by. This is a rare achievement for an actor whose rise was built on patience rather than hype. In historical dramas, Liu Yuning refined a unique masculine aesthetic, restrained, disciplined, and deeply internal. His sword did not speak louder than his eyes. His power was expressed through stillness rather than aggression. When portraying characters burdened by loyalty, loss, or destiny, he avoided melodrama. Every decision felt considered, as if the character had lived long before the camera arrived. This sense of history within a role gave his performances weight and credibility, allowing audiences to believe not just in the story, but in the man within it. Modern dramas further expanded his screen legacy. Stripped of costumes and mythology, Liu Yuning proved that his appeal did not depend on genre. In contemporary settings, he portrayed men shaped by reality, careers, relationships, moral compromise. His acting became even more intimate, leaning heavily on micro-expressions and controlled dialogue. These roles revealed an actor confident enough to underplay, trusting the audience to meet him halfway. It was here that his maturity as a performer became undeniable. Another defining achievement across Liu Yuning's film career is emotional continuity. No matter the role, his characters feel emotionally complete. They are not fragments designed to serve a plot. They are people with inner lives. Even when written sparsely, Liu Yuning fills the gaps with intention. This ability elevates the material he is given, often making secondary storylines feel central simply because he inhabits them with authenticity. As his body of work grows, a pattern emerges. Liu Yuning does not chase roles that guarantee instant applause. He chooses characters that allow him to evolve. Each project feels like a step forward in craft, rather than a repetition of past success. This long-term artistic vision is, in itself, one of his greatest achievements. In an industry that rewards speed, Liu Yuning invests in depth. Looking at his film and drama journey as a whole, it becomes clear that Liu Yuning's success is not defined by a single iconic role, but by a sustained accumulation of trust from directors, from co-stars, and most importantly, from audiences. His achievements live in the way viewers lean in when he appears on screen, in the silence that forms when his character speaks, and in the lingering aftertaste his performances leave behind. And perhaps that is Liu Yuning's most meaningful achievement through film. He does not demand attention, he earns it. And as Liu Yuning's film journey moves forward, what becomes increasingly clear is that his achievements are no longer about arrival, but definition. There comes a moment in every actor's career when the audience stops asking who they are, and begins to ask what they will become next. Liu Yuning has crossed that threshold. His later performances reveal an actor shaping his own screen language, measured pacing, emotional restraint, and a quiet authority that feels earned rather than imposed. In films and dramas alike, his characters often carry the burden of choice. They are men who think before they act, who absorb pain without spectacle, and who lead without the need to announce themselves. This consistency has turned his name into a guarantee of tone and quality. One of Liu Yuning's most significant achievements across his filmography is his ability to elevate narrative tension without excess. In scenes of confrontation, he rarely raises his voice. In moments of heartbreak, he resists obvious sorrow. Instead, he lets the weight settle slowly, allowing the audience to feel it rather than be told how to feel. This approach has given his roles longevity. Viewers revisit his scenes not for shock, but for resonance. As his roles grow more demanding, Liu Yuning has shown a clear command of emotional architecture. He understands when to hold back and when to release, when silence is stronger than dialogue, and when stillness can carry more meaning than movement. These are not instincts of a novice, but skills of an actor who has studied the rhythm of storytelling. His performances feel composed, deliberate, and deeply respectful of the script, while simultaneously adding layers beyond what is written. Another achievement lies in how naturally he blends vulnerability with strength. In many of his films, his characters are protectors, strategists, or leaders, yet they are never emotionally closed. Liu Yuning allows cracks to appear, moments of doubt, regret, or longing, without weakening the character's authority. This balance creates men who feel real rather than symbolic, complex rather than idealized. It is a quality that resonates strongly with modern audiences seeking emotional authenticity. Over time, Liu Yuning's film achievements have collectively formed a quiet but powerful legacy. He has proven that charisma does not need to be loud, that romance does not need grand gestures, and that heroism can exist in restraint. His journey through film is a testament to endurance, craft, and trust in gradual growth. And as the screen fades to black on each project, one truth remains. Liu Yuning's story in film is still unfolding, not as a chase for fame, but as a steady pursuit of meaning. Each role leaves a trace, each performance adds depth, and with every new chapter, he moves further away from being simply watched and closer to being remembered. When the final frame fades and the credits begin to roll, Liu Yuning's greatest achievement remains. Not the roles he has played, but the feeling he leaves behind. His films do not shout for remembrance. They settle quietly into the viewer's mind, growing heavier with time. In an industry that often rewards speed, he chose depth. In a world obsessed with instant brilliance, he built a steady, enduring light. And perhaps that is why Liu Yuning's story through film still feels unfinished. Not because it lacks closure, but because it promises more. More growth, more meaning, more moments where silence speaks louder than applause. This is not the end of his journey on screen. It is simply the point where we realize we are watching someone who will be remembered.